Hey, what's up? GW coming to you live. Yeah, I know, new location, messed y'all up. Couple things. We went to the fall festival yesterday, and it was pretty cool. I'm telling you what, they had part of downtown Main Street blocked off. And I know before anybody says anything, I know the light's a little bit bad in this room. This is the only room that's kind of soundproof. So we went down there, had a great time. Dawn and I, uh, we actually stopped at one of those caricature places, where they draw your faces, cartoon style. And I'll tell you what, this guy was really, really awesome. I want to say his name is Gary Wallen. I may be right. If I am, check out GaryWallenArt.com on Facebook or something. The guy was amazing. We actually sat down and talked to him. And he's a very cool cat. But we walked around Main Street. It was pretty cool. And the infamous Billy Boofer was running around. Billy Boofer is a dude that I really like. He comes on and he does the bottom shelf Butler News. And what happened yesterday was me and my wife met some friends. And there we go. The light's a little better. And we met some friends. And there we go. Fixed the light problem. So what happened was we went down there to Main Street Butler. We were meeting some friends from work, from Dawn's work. And you know how you split up in groups. I went one way, she went the other way with him, with these guys. So that's what happened. And she, being the lucky person she is, she thought she saw Billy Boofer. I always liked the guy. I thought he's great. I actually want to meet him, just say, hey, you rock in person. But yeah, she said she swore she saw him walking around down there, so that was cool. But as we were getting our caricatures done, I think we were photographed by the Butler Eagle, which wouldn't be the first time I was in a Butler Eagle picture, but it would be one of the most notable. The last time that I did get my picture taken in the Butler Eagle was we were just going from Cub Scouts to Boy Scouts. We had a big jamboree in Camp Coco, right? And it's me and another kid, Bucky Hughes. We're dressed up like Indians, and the Butler Eagle photographer had us pose like we were getting ready to attack, and that was years ago. And I can't even find that picture. I don't know what happened. My mom might have it, but it was a pretty interesting time, very fun atmosphere. Everybody rocked down there. Um, and it was just a good time. It was a good day. Weather had held up, so that's why I wasn't there yesterday. Now, couple of things. um, my man JM, we were coming into work, and my man JM drove past, and I know how stars feel. My man JM come flying through, and he's like, "Yo, G Dub," and it's just me and Dawn, my wife, and I'm looking, and it was really cool because we were with a crowd of people, and I would just like say that was one of the coolest moves ever. And I'm glad that my videos, reach people. And in fact, matter of fact, I was filling in Friday, and my man JM, my man Justin, he was watching my printer video I just put out, and I'm gonna check on him today, Jay. I forgot, but it was cool because again, it shows that I'm reaching, people, and they're listening to my stuff while they're doing their government, while they're doing their work. So that's cool. So, in doing that, I was talking to him, and I have a story that happened when we were little. It was a couple of stories, actually, I'm going to go into. Because I didn't have a chance to watch movies. I started watching the Borderlands movie, and I'm going to have to get back to you. But it was fun. I read all the critic reviews, and I'm like, eh. And it was a fun movie. One of them wanted you to take your brain out of your head and put it on the table, and just enjoy. So, I'm going to tell you a story about how me and my two cousins, Jared and Jeff, destroyed a hotel room. So, I'm thinking clearly. If I'm thinking clearly, the time frame had to have been about 1989, somewhere in there. We were all three little, hell-raising kids. Nintendo was big at that time. In fact, the game that came out we were playing was Karnov, where you were a fire-breathing uh, Russian and you had to save a princess. We never could because the game was hard as hell, but we always liked that at the arcade. The creatures, the effects, whatever. So when it was ported to home console, we got the Nintendo. And of course, when we went on trips, we would take our Nintendo with us. And my Aunt Carol had a timeshare in Florida. And it was one of them ones, single floor, living room, big bathroom. Hot tubs were new at that time, at least to us. They were probably around in, the late 70s, but they were new to us. And they they had one of these at this timeshare thing. It was a bathroom, and it was probably a good sized room. It was probably, it was a huge bathroom because it had a toilet, it had a big bathroom stall, right, and then it had the big hot tub, right. So right outside of the door from the hot tub, right, was the living room because you'd walk in from the living room into the bathroom. And my dad and the adults, they would do things and we would stay at the timeshare and we'd play video games all day, unless we were doing a trip or something, right? So this particular day, nothing was going on. My mom, and outside the timeshare, by the way, was the beach. So it was a timeshare and it had a concrete walkway that you could walk the whole way around the thing, right? And it had the beach, which was right next to it. And a couple of stories here I got. The first day we got there, my sister wanted to run onto the beach. So she ran onto the beach and they had bikes, 10 speeds coming across the beach. And she actually got hit and she actually had tire tracks down her stomach, those little, dump, 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 dump tire tracks. It was pretty damn funny. It wasn't funny for her, but it was pretty damn funny for the rest of us because the joke was, well, you can't go nowhere without getting hit with a bike. But that paled into comparison to what we did. One day, they were all at the beach. We were at the timeshare playing Nintendo. And mind you, we're probably 7, 8 years old. Maybe. No, I want to say we're like 10 or 12 years old, actually. That would have been the right time frame. Sorry, the alcohol killed some of the brain cells here. But, so anyway, so we're playing Nintendo, and my cousin Jeff goes into the bathroom, and the hot tubs had a button on it. When you fill them all the way to the top, you hit that button, and the jet starts spurting out, right? He hit the button, and the thing was no water. There was no water in it, right? So he hits the button. And we're all playing Nintendo. And at that time, to show you how old this was, you have to have an RFV jack to hook into a TV. They didn't have, audio and video cables, and they damn sure didn't have HDMI. So this is ancient stuff. So this is why I'm telling you this is back in the day. And we're playing. And all of a sudden you hear, tsk, 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 right? And at first you're like, it must be a sprinkler outside. And it's not. It was actually the jets going off. But they were shooting from the side of the hot tub into the hot tub, so we didn't really know. So I actually forget what happened. We were playing for a few hours. And in that few hours, that water just hit the side of the hot tub and it flew. And it was creating, water on the floor. And it was a big mess. And I think one of us, after about 3 hours, went into the thing. No, Jeff. Jeff went in there. That's right. Jeff went in there and came flying out. He goes, the water's broke. The water's broke. So then we all get in there. We stop playing Nintendo. We're looking and we just see water squirting out. It's 3 kids. All right. We got swim trunks on. We got, sleeveless t-shirts on. We have bandanas on. I mean, we look like hooligans, right? And because it was hot as hell down in Florida, so I was dressing, I was dressing like, a little thug, and so was my cousin. And Jeff runs out of the timeshare to the timeshare beside us. That's where my grandma and grandpa were staying. And he finally tracks down my dad. Now this is after 45 minutes. So this thing had been spurting probably, I want to say, about 4.5, 5 hours, maybe 6. Who knows? We come in there. The spray for them things were so powerful that it would hit the side. Like if the jets were on this side, it would hit this side, ricochet over. It got the mirror. They had a little countertop set up. As you got out of the bathtub, you could see, and they had big mirrors and everything. It covered the floor. The floor was covered in about 2 or 3 inches of water. And so the next thing I know, my dad comes in, my uncle comes in, and they're looking at us. We look like hooligans. Water's spraying out of the jets like you wouldn't believe. So we're grabbing towels to try to push it, which ain't gonna do nothing. But we did. Plastic bags, anything to stop the jets. Beach towels, we were throwing in there. And if YouTube was a thing and you had phones for video, oh my God, this would have been the most craziest piece of footage you ever saw. So as we're trying to block the jets, the water is slowly filling up in the tub too as well. So we battled that for probably about 2 hours. So now this thing's been running for 8 hours. Count 8 hours. The bathroom is trashed. There's water all over it, water behind the toilet, water all over the toilet, water all over the countertop, water all over the floor. I mean, literally, you could probably. It looked like the floor was made of glass. You know what I'm saying? It was bad. And then on top of that, my uncle, my dad, they're all yelling at us, right? Starbucks best coffee, but so we're getting yelled at by all these things. So we're sitting there now. We're crying. We're wet. We're in hardly any clothes. We got the thing spraying off like anything. I mean, the water was so bad that I think it ruined the carpet coming into the living room. So the tub is filling up and it gets to the halfway point and it's still spurting out. And Jeff is hitting the button, nonstop. But at that time, you had multiple settings. So you would hit the button once, you get regular jets. You hit the button twice, you would get right? So that ain't helping. All he's doing is changing the volume of water that's coming out on the floor. So the tub finally fills up. And my dad looking at us, and they're just disgusted with us. And I'll never forget. I mean, we're soaking wet, right? Our hair is soaked. Our faces are soaked. I mean, we look like we come out of a torrential downpour battling this shit. My dad looks at me and goes, "You assholes, trash the room. You're wet. Get in the hot tub and enjoy it." He scared you. All of them said that. And I remember the next day we went somewhere. We went on a trip. And maintenance had to come over and clean it up. And we weren't allowed to use the hot tub. But we were badasses. And then I think the next year or the following year, I kind of want to say the following year, we took our hijinks to I kind of want to say Vegas. Yep, we had to hit bigger, guys. We had to get bigger. Jeff wasn't in this one. The only reason Jeff was at that one is because he lived in Florida. He used to live by me down in downtown, or down in the outskirts of where my parents grew up, and he moved. But yeah, we've been in some crazy stuff. We were in Vegas, and we were staying again at a hotel complex, same walkway type thing, same thing. But me and my cousin Jared, we were badasses, And we didn't do anything seriously wrong. We were just badasses. You know what I mean? So we went to Vegas and then Florida, or Florida then Vegas. That's right, because we went back to Florida. And the second time we went to Florida, somehow we discovered girls. I had a girlfriend, my wife now. And I remember telling her, I was like, I'm going on vacation, and I don't want you to dump me because I was going to be gone a week. And when you're a teenager and you're a kid, you don't know, right? So, so I go to Florida with Jared, my parents, and we we somehow got on the roof of the timeshare our second day there, and you could see everybody, going to the beach. In fact, if you watch Revenge of the Nerds 2, Nerds in Paradise, it was the same thing. You could sit up on the top of the thing. You could see the people and the girls skate in that little sidewalk area there. It was the same type of thing. So we're up there, and all these women's is just rollerblading, they're walking, and we got the bright idea to heckle them. It was all those 80s movies, I'm telling you. So we're up on the roof and we're going, "Hey, baby, you look pretty good, And we were all, and then they'd look and we'd duck down, right? Well, we did that for a few days. And where the timeshare was, they also had oranges. And my cousin Jared took it upon himself to climb trees to take oranges down. I never did no shit like that, but he did. And he got in trouble because the manager of the hotel was like, "Look, these are oranges. They're not allowed to be taken, touched." But he would bring everybody oranges and grapefruits for breakfast. It was pretty cool, you know, until he got in trouble. So put a stop to that. But also, it put a stop to him doing that, not us messing around with the oranges. So the one day my parents went out for something and we were in a hotel. And around the back of the hotel, they had like this little sun patio thing, and this chick was laying down, right? And she was probably 21. We were probably about 7, you know. She's sitting there and she had her bra taken off, she didn't want the bra strap, sun, burnt into her skin and everything. She was a pretty nice girl. I never got her name. I was also afraid to talk to her, but Jared was like, "Go talk to her." "Why?" "Well, I think she's cute." "Okay." So I get out and start talking to her. And saw her a couple of times, but that was my first real view of a half naked girl, because she would sit out there really with the sun on both sides, and that was the first time we seen. But so anyway, getting back to our hijinks, the couple of days later, we were walking around this hotel, this complex, and it was a golf course at the far end of the thing. So we had an orange in our hand for whatever reason. The guy hits a golf ball, and they had pine trees, right as at the edge of the walkway. So these pine trees are there. So the guy hits a golf ball. It rolls through the pine trees out onto the walkway, and you hear, "Hey, Bob, lucky shot." And I forget, probably I did. I threw an orange back underneath the tree line toward the golf course. Like I said, we weren't scholars. You know what I'm saying? And I hear, "Hey, Bob, you hit that ball back. It came back orange." And we ran because that's what we did. Now, the bad thing was, it was when you got out away from the complex, that path took you across a bridge that took you above the freeway in Florida. And I know what you're thinking, and yes, we went there. But we were only, like I said, 10, 12, 13 years old. We didn't know any better. Somehow or another, we whipped an orange over the overpass We didn't hurt nothing. I think we just wanted to get it in the back of a pickup truck or something like that. But we didn't hurt nobody. Um, but yeah, it was vacations with us were always crazy. We also smuggled cigarettes. We were smoking at that time, and we had on the handbags, right? And we put all of our cigarettes and stuff. I quit now, but we would put them all in there and we'd hide them. We'd put clothes on top of them, CDs, whatever. And I was listening to Two Live Crew, so my mindset wasn't exactly nasty as they want to be moved something and all that stuff. My mindset wasn't exactly wholesome. You know. But every vacation we've been on, we've been in some kind of crap. Then there was one time that somehow we ran out of cigarettes. I can't remember where it was. I want to say we was in California or something. So mom and dad were going away for the night. They went to go see one of these shows that only adults could go see or something. So we we needed cigarettes. So I took it upon myself. I went over to from the hotel complex. I walked a good ways, and they had a I think a Walmart or something over there. I can't even remember, but it was a good distance away from the hotel. So I went over there and I had the money. I'm a little scrawny motherfucker, right? Oh, I slipped. I'm a little scrawny dude, and I I ended up waiting there for a while, and I finally got someone to buy me cigarettes, but they were Marlboro Medium. I don't even know if they still make them or not. But it seemed like an eternity. Now I had to give dude was cool. Dude bought me some cigarettes, and I remember giving him half the money, and we were supposed to order a pizza, so we didn't do that. I went ahead. Sorry, mom. Yeah, I owe you about $15. I know, but I got some Marble Medium, and I had to walk across freeways and everything else. I wasn't scared at that time, and that was the time, back then they would just let kids go. I mean, no one mess with kids. You see kids walking. I saw them all the time walking to Butler yesterday, and that was an adventure. And I brought back my cousin. Actually gave me a hug. He's like, "I thought you were dead." I'm like, "Dude, I got your cigarettes, man. You told me to go do something. I do it." And you felt like you was a part of the mob. You're like, "Yeah, I did it. Here it is." Um, it was crazy. And then my dad would always go with the people he worked with, and one of them was German. I think his name was Willie. If I can remember right. We went down. I think we were in California, and the last day that we were there, we went and saw a show. At night or something. And Willie was cool. I think that's his name, and I really hope it is. He would always tell you dirty jokes. So, and again, you're young and impressionable. That was in California because we did the Universal tour. But Willie, I would sit with him and his wife, and he'd tell you dirty jokes. I mean, sexual dirty jokes, right? So you were just like bombarded. So I'm sitting there, and he goes, "What do you want to drink?" I said, "I don't know." He goes, "How about a beer?" I said, "Okay." So he got me a beer. Now, mind you, we have to leave this place at 3:30 in the morning to catch a flight. This is my first thing, and I know Dad knew, and if he didn't know, he knows now. But Willie, he kept buying beer, and I must have had like 4 or 5 of them, cause I ate dinner with him, and we were sitting like the way that the stage was set, like it was staggered. Like we were here, and my dad was down here. How do I remember this shit? I don't know, but he's down here and he's looking back, and Willie's like, "Yeah, he'll have another beer." And I'm underage as hell, and I'm sitting there drinking beer, and I felt good. I went to sleep good, right? And at 3 o'clock in the morning, we had to make a flight from California back home. And Dad messed with me the entire time. He knew. But the thing is that back then, though, it was a different time. It was a different time because nobody, laws and things and environments weren't serious as they are, today. And I did do a lot in my vacation time. I saw a lot of stuff, you know, and I had a lot of good stuff. And it's just to me, looking at the state of the world now, and this is serious, looking at the state of the world today, it, I don't want to travel. I know a lot of people do. I had a bad experience at Miami International, but even now, it's just like the rules are tightened up, the restrictions are tightened up, and the places that I've been, they've changed, and sometimes not for the better. But I was telling my man Jay about that, about something we did when we were kids. Yeah, we trashed our hotel room. We did all kinds of stupid things. I do. Speaking of vacations, when we went to Vegas, we saw Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci's film a scene from Casino. I don't know if I ever talked about this. I may have. I don't know. But it was the coolest thing. We were staying at the Marriott, and they had a tunnel like up underneath the hotel. You could just walk to the other hotel, right? Gambling everywhere. They had a giant aquarium that ran both hotels, and I couldn't sleep. And I know Dad doesn't remember this, but I do. I can remember it clearly. He would walk around, and he knocked on the door. We stayed in separate bedrooms, and he'd get me up, and we went down. It was a Saturday, I believe. And it was like 3:30 in the morning, and he's like, "Come here, I want to show you something." Okay. So I walk with Dad, and we saw De Niro and Pesci film a scene from Casino, and I know Dad doesn't remember, but it was really cool, and it was in Vegas. And then later they had limos parked there, and we saw them all leave. Sharon Stone, I think I saw her. I don't know, but it was really cool. And the thing is that stuff like that. I know, and this is going to be the sentimental part of the video, but I know things like that. You know, my dad's a guy that I know has done everything in the world for me, and sometimes I know I'm not grateful, and sometimes he'll do something like that. And I know sometimes we don't see eye to eye, right? But see, I love my dad, you know. And lately, I've been thinking, about some of the stuff we did, and I can honestly tell you guys, the viewers, and the people that know me know my family. And there's a lot of them that work, a lot of the Boyers crew know my family. A lot of, workers down there know my family. My man Dougie knows my family from selling them insurance. My dad's a pretty cool cat. And the reason I'm saying this is because the other day he put a water tank in, and he tells me that he don't know how much longer he gonna be around. And at first, I played it off. I'm like, Dad, you fine, you fine. But then I started thinking about it. And the weird thing is like, I don't know what I'm gonna do without my dad. Because my dad has done everything for me. And I know sometimes I come across as being ungrateful. And maybe it wasn't the fact I was ungrateful. Maybe it was the fact that I just, for years, maybe I just didn't appreciate what he did. Or maybe I copped an attitude and thought that, I should have everything handed to me. And that's not the case, you know. And he's the reason behind all them stories, because he's the reason every time when he was working with Star Buildings, that's where we would go. We'd go to Florida, California, Hawaii, you know. We did an Alaska trip. We'd done all this stuff because of him. And I had his house, mostly because of him. And the thing is that, like I said in that Charlie Sheen review, man, that scene really hit me because it's something that I know that I would do. I mean, if I was with my dad and it was just us, I'd give him a hug and say, hey, thank you. But men don't do that. Men don't show each other hugs. Dad's proud of me. He'll look at the county commissioner, whatever, he'll go, that's my son. That's his way of saying I love you. I don't know what I'm going to do to say I love you to him because he's done so much and he's the reason I had them stories. And he's probably the reason I didn't get my ass kicked too for doing something. Because he knew, you know. But again, that's why that scene in that movie hit me so hard because Dad's a real important figure in my life, and I don't give him credit. In fact, whenever I call home and I'm like, "Hey, Dad, how you doing?" "Oh, here's your mother." It's that uneasy thing. I didn't mean to go into that, but it was just on my mind. Um, but I did shoot about 30 seconds of video from the fall festival, which I'm going to upload next, so you can enjoy that. I was going to shoot more. Um, it was hard because when we were with friends, I'm trying to do stuff with them, and I'm messaging my wife because she's in one area and I'm in the next, and we're just trying to, and I didn't know if I shot video, if people would be pissed or people would be crazy. But there was a lot of cool organizations down there selling from, they rock, they rock, and we did go for the first time. We went into. I gotta prop this real quick. We uh, we went into this game, like board games and more. It's on Main Street or something. I can't remember the name of the place, but they have vintage video games. And I went in there and they have everything. They have Sega CD, PS1, PS2, all that stuff. And I'm like, this is really amazing. They had games that were discontinued, and it was incredible to see that. And if you're ever, I forget the name of the store, but it's Games, something Games, and it's right by Miller's Shoes on Butler, which, by the way, that's the other thing. I talked to Mr. Miller, the owner of the shoe store. He is amazing because I went in there whenever I was like 4 or 5, and he still remembers me and my mom. And the guy was great. And then when you look at it now, like my age, the two guys that run the place, they look like mafia peoples. They do. They look like dudes you'd see on The Sopranos going, hey, Vinny, watch that guy. But they're cool dudes. My wife's known him for years. But it was nice just to get out and see people and have a day of it. But yeah, so I hope you enjoy those stories because they really did happen. A lot of people ask me, Greg, does that really happen? Yes, it really happened. I lived it. And there's only one person, taking a cue from the Charlie Sheen movie again, that knows my life better than anybody, and that's me. So I wanted to share that because that hotel trashing scene was infamous in my house, and it's a legend. Not a good one. We also have a picture my mom has in a photo book of us three in the limousine looking like miniature Motley Crue people. I'm pointing to the mini bar. I got like a bottle of sparkling cider in my hand, looked like champagne. I got the suit, the tie. I was going to a wedding, like I said. I swear to God, it looked like we were like a miniature version of Megadeth. You know what I'm saying? And my cousin Jeff's got that evil sneer. Oh yeah, we were not right. We were not right. But you know what? I miss those days. Those days were carefree, man. You have nothing to worry about. You just had fun. You were a kid. Where did time go? So, yeah, big shout out to my man Justin for the drive by. Big shout out to the people on Miller's Shoes. Huge shout out to, I think, Gary Wallen. Like I said, Gary Wallen Art Facebook. Check him out. Uh, Big shout out to my man Connor. Big shout out to everybody that watches this and enjoys, my stories. But like I said, I wish we had video phones back in the day, because that would have been it. I would have had footage on there. It would have been like, it would have been America's most adolescent home videos or some shit like that. But big shout out. Big shout out to my big shout out to everybody. You know what I'm saying? Everybody watch it, because if I go through names, I'm gonna be here another hour. But big shout out to my man MS, and I just want to say thank you for all you do for me. He knows who he is. He's a cool dude. And Josh, I'm working on that promo for you. Casey, big shout out to Casey Klaus. She's really cool. I met her the other day. She's really awesome. And I'd like to hear your thoughts, Casey, on some things. Maybe you can tell me stuff about Josh and I can mess with him MJF style, But she's very cool, and kind of want to get to know you just a tad bit better, because obviously, you go to where you work, you can punch in my information, see my wife's information, blah, 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 whatever. But yeah. Big shout out to my man Conrad. I think he changed jobs. I think he's no longer working at GameStop. But when you did work at GameStop, Conrad, if you check this out, thank you for everything that you do. Or you did for Dawn and I. It's good to see you down where we work, though, man. Keep it up. Keep rocking. You the man. So, my man Rick was taking care of me since I was little, Rick Carl Antonio, he's a cool dude. Watched after me when I was a little tyke, in them years. Thank you, Sometimes you just gotta say thanks, man, because if you don't, man, that shit'll come back and bite you in the ass, so. But every one of my fans, everybody that subscribed, I hope you enjoyed these stories again, and I hope you play this more times than I can ever get played, Anyway, thank you for listening. I hope you found some humor in this, because I look around and I'll tell you something. The reason I wanted to tell you them stories is because the world has been crazy lately, and I think everybody just needs a laugh or a chuckle, man, so that's what I'm saying. Peace.